If Caribbean Indo families keep showing up on exams and confusing you, this will help.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am so thrilled you're joining us for today's explainer because we're about to explore this incredibly fascinating intersection of history, culture, and some really practical exam knowledge. Have you ever actually stopped to think about how the architectural and social roofs over our heads today were built by the roots of our ancestors? Well, today we're looking at how Caribbean history, and specifically the arrival of Indian indentured laborers, directly impacts modern culture, our local economy, and yes, for those of you currently studying, your CSEC Social Studies exams. We're going to connect the dots between the past and the present in a way that is really going to make this information stick. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the roots of Indo-Caribbean culture. Second, the joint family system. Third, festivals, crafts, and tourism. And fourth, we'll wrap up with mastering the CSEC exam. Let's get right into it. Starting with Section 1, Roots of Indo-Caribbean Culture, the Historical Fusion. I want to really emphasize the word fusion here. You know, when Indian indentured laborers migrated to the Caribbean, they didn't just bring themselves. They brought entirely established social structures, religious practices, and deep ancestral traditions. Caribbean society isn't just some random mix of different people living side by side. It is a true fusion. It's this complete, beautiful integration where traditional roots have intertwined to forge a deeply unique regional identity. And honestly, one of the most profound contributions to that fusion happened right inside the home. Which brings us to Section 2, looking at the physical and social structure of the household itself, the joint family system. Okay, let's dive into exactly what this means. The joint family system, which we so often refer to in the Caribbean as the extended family, consists of two or more generations of relatives living together under one roof, or at least in very close proximity. We're talking grandparents, parents, children, aunts, and uncles, all together. Now, this was the single most distinct social impact introduced by Indian indentured labor. But to really wrap our heads around it, we have to look past just who lived there and understand why they lived that way. So the absolutely crucial point here is that this wasn't just a casual, fun living arrangement. This was a highly functional survival system. It had three core functions: cultural preservation, economic cooperation, and built-in social support. Remember, in the incredibly harsh agricultural environment of the early Caribbean, smaller nuclear families really would have struggled. The joint family was this vital, powerful tool for collective survival and growth. In practice, this survival system was just unbelievably resilient. By pooling their labor and their financial resources, the extended family created essential economic security for all that tough agricultural work. But, it was also deeply about human connection and care. Think about it. With multiple adults in the home, younger children were always socialized and looked after. And at the exact opposite end of the spectrum, older family members were supported and respected right there within the home. It completely avoided the isolation that the elderly so often face in other family structures. It was basically a built-in safety net. Let's move to Section 3, Festivals, Crafts, and Tourism. Let's see how the joint family helped these ancestral customs evolve into massive, modern industries. Because families lived together in these huge, multi-generational households, they were able to act as literal fortresses of cultural preservation. They successfully passed down very specific religious traditions year after year. From the Hindu faith, we saw the introduction and the careful preservation of Diwali, the beautiful festival of lights, as well as Phagwa, which is also known as Holi. And from the Islamic tradition, Eid-ul-Fitr became a major, highly celebrated event. These weren't just facts preserved in dusty history books. They were lived and breathed every single day within the joint family, totally enriching the diverse heritage of the whole region. And this actually brings us to an incredible economic impact pipeline. It's like a chain reaction. First, you have socialization happening right within that extended family, passing down traditional music, dance, folklore, and crafts like pottery from generation to generation. Next, as those families grew and expanded, national organizations began taking notice and promoting these as major annual indigenous festivals. And finally, that translates into a massive tourism product today. Those ancient ancestral art forms are literally directly providing modern employment in the Caribbean entertainment and craft industries. It is history literally fueling the modern economy. How cool is that? All right, for all the students tuning in right now, it is time for Section 4, Mastering the CSEC exam. Let's put our coaching hats on and apply all this historical knowledge directly to your social studies paper. On the CSEC exam, the examiners don't just want you to memorize standard definitions. They are actively testing your ability to link specific ethnic groups with particular family structures. Specifically, they want to see if you understand the intersection of defining a family type and accounting for the cultural diversity of the Caribbean region. Ultimately, it's about knowing exactly how ancestry shaped the family. Let's test this out with a real example. The question asks, which of the following types of households in the Caribbean is most closely associated with ancestors who came from India? Is it A, sibling, B, nuclear, C, extended, or D, single parent? Take a quick second, think it over, and lock in your mental guess based on everything we've just covered. If you chose C, extended, you absolutely nailed it. The extended or joint family is the precise historical structure brought over specifically by Indian indentured laborers. But what's really fascinating here is the psychology behind the wrong answers. The absolute most common mistake students make on this question is choosing the nuclear family. And why is that? Well, because the nuclear family, two parents and their children, is a super common modern family structure across basically all ethnic groups today. But the crucial point is the wording of the question itself. It asks what is historically and ancestrally associated with this specific group. And that historical, ancestral root brought from India is for sure the extended or joint family. So don't fall for that modern trap. You have to stick to the historical roots. Okay, let's lock in these final exam tips before we go. First up, use keyword association. If you see the words India or Indo-Caribbean in a question about ancestry, your brain should immediately start looking for extended or joint in the options. Second, remember the function. If they ask why it existed, remember it was a critical tool for economic cooperation and resource pooling. And finally, just read carefully. You've got to distinguish between a family type, which just tells you who lives there, and a family system, which describes how they socially function together to survive. Which brings us to our final thought. We have seen exactly how the traditional roots of Indian indentured laborers built a really powerful joint family system, a roof that preserved incredible festivals, supported survival in agriculture, and ultimately helped build the modern tourism industry. So I'll leave you with this. If the joint family system shaped the history and economy of an entire region through cooperation, how do the ancestral roots in your own family continue to shape the roof over your head today? Seriously, take a moment to think about the unique traditions, the support systems, and the deeply rooted culture passed down in your own home. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep studying, keep asking great questions, and I will see you next time.
As always, the link for this study tool is in the description below. Let me know what you think in the comments.